A hearty good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight is Lecture 7 of this CSA Level 1 Umpiring course hosted by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Abdullah Steenkamp, and my co-presenter for this evening is Tom Mukarosi. In tonight's lecture, we will cover the following. We will I will be covering the revision slides where I will focus on all the bits and portions of the law that was highlighted in green in the previous 6 lectures. As we said in the beginning of the course, there are exam questions on those green highlighted portions. So once I'm done with the revision slides, I will then hand over to Tom, who will take us through a mock exam. Tom will then also take us through a bit of exam logistics. And then after that, we will open the floor for Q&A. So law 1, the players, if everyone can do me a favor, can you please mute your microphones and also switch off your cameras? Thank you so much. So again, I will be only focusing on the green highlighted portions of the slides that we've covered in lecture 1 to 6. So under law 1, the players, the green highlighted portion here is that usually a match is played between two sides of 11 players, but the law allows that by an agreement before the game starts, that a match may be played between sides of fewer than or even more than 11 players. But not more than 11 players may field at any time. In terms of the nomination and the replacement of players, so when the toss takes place, each captain needs to nominate his or her players on a piece of paper and hand that piece of paper over to one of the umpires, either before the toss or even at the toss. And once the toss has taken place and before the game starts, no player may be changed after the nomination without the consent of the opposing captain. You need the opposing captain to consent to any change that you want to make to the nomination seat. It's not up to the umpires. It's for the opposing captain alone to decide whether he or she will allow you to change the name on the nomination seat after the toss has taken place, or the captain not to allow you to change any of the nominated players. When it comes to the umpires under Law 2, in terms of the appointment and the attendance, the law tells us that the umpires needs to be at the ground at least 45 minutes before the scheduled start of each day's play. So if play starts at 10 o'clock, the umpires needs to be at least at the ground by 9:15 a.m. And one of the main reasons for this is there are lots of duties that the umpires needs to perform before the game starts. Are we allowed to change the umpire after the game has started?
And because they don't want it to go, they make
can I please ask everyone to mute their microphones and also
okay, I told them, like,
to switch off their cameras?
Today's meeting, I told Jeff directly. Okay.
Can you please mute your microphone? Tom, can you do me a favor, please?
Yeah, sorry, Dila, I've just muted him.
Thank you so much, Thomas. In terms of changing the umpire after the game has started, yes, the law allows for it because an umpire can become injured or ill, or if they in the need be in exceptional circumstances, the umpire needs to be changed. The law allows for this, but the law then tells us that if you do decide to change the umpire, the replacement umpire to only act as the strikers in umpire, unless both captains agree that this replacement umpire can take full responsibility as an umpire in the game. If the captains does not agree, the replacement umpire shall only stand at the strikers end, so meaning the other umpire will then do uh, both bowlers in for every over. Fair and unfair play. Who are the judges of fair and unfair play? Is it the captains, the coaches, the players? The umpires are the sole judges of fair and unfair play. Umpires alone, they decide on whether an incident is fair or unfair. Who decides on the fitness of play? Also, solely for the umpires, and the important word here is together. So the umpires together needs to decide whether the field is fit to play, and the things and the two important words that they need to take into account is dangerous or unreasonable. So in terms of the fitness of play, in terms of ground, weather or light or exceptional circumstances, the two words that the umpires needs to take into account whether it is dangerous or unreasonable, and it's solely for the two umpires to decide on the fitness of play. So in terms of suspension of play in dangerous or unreasonable conditions, so if play is in progress and the umpires do not agree about the conditions, they shall immediately suspend play. I'll use an example to illustrate this point. Let's say it's late afternoon, the light is busy fading. One umpire feels, looking at the light, I think this light we can continue. The other umpire feels that I think the light is a bit too dark. I think we're not able to continue. If there is a good disagreement, the law tells us that if the umpires do not agree, you that they shall immediately suspend play. Where do the umpires stand? The law gives us, the law guides us. They firstly tell us umpire to stand where he or she can best act to make a decision. But the law also tells us that when it comes to the strikers in umpire, the strikers in umpire needs actually to stand on the onside. If the strikers in umpire do decide to move over to the offside, there are three parties that the strikers in umpire needs to inform. And who are they? They are the captain of the fielding side, the striker, and the other umpire. So if the strikers in umpire do decide to go and stand on the offside for whatever reason, let's say it's a late setting sun and the strikers needs to stand on the other side, while going to the other side, the strikers in umpire needs to inform the captain of the fielding side, the striker, and the other umpire. The scorers. So what do the scorers do? So the law tells us that two scorers shall be appointed. And what do? They need to record all runs scored, all wickets taken, and the number of overs that are bowled. So as per the law, these are the three things that the scorers need to do: runs scored, wickets taken, and number of overs bowled. New ball in modern cricket. The law tells us that in a match of more than 1 day's duration, example a test match, there is an option for the captain of the fielding side to take a new ball after 80 overs are bowled. So the law allows in a match of more than 1 day's duration for the fielding captain after 80 overs are bowled to take a new ball. The option is there. The fielding captain does not have to exercise the option. If the fielding captain feels like he or she would like to continue with the current ball, no problem. But the option is there once 80 overs has been bowled to take a new ball. The bat. So what are the bat size limits? The law tells us that in terms of the overall length of the bat, it shall not exceed 96.52 centimeters. And there are other dimensions in terms of width and depth and edges, 10.8, 6.7, and 4 respectively. So when it comes to the pitch, the law tells us that the length of the pitch, 20.12 meters. That's a metric system. Imperial system is 22 yards. And the width of the pitch, 3.05 meters metric and 10 feet the imperial. The creases. And here I'm going to give you about 8 to 10 points free in the exam. This is a crease at the JB Marks Oval or Senwes Park in Potchefstroom, where currently the 8 provinces in South Africa is playing a T20 competition. So one of the exam questions is that they are going to ask you the name of the creases. So if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see the name of the creases, the popping crease, the bowling crease, and the return crease. So there I'm giving you 3 marks in next week's exam. The crease on the left-hand side where you'll see the measurements, they will ask you the measurements in the exam. So in terms of the popping crease, the minimum length of the popping crease is 3.66 meters. I'm only mentioning the metric measuring system. These days, the measuring tapes are metric, so that's why I prefer using this method. There's nothing wrong with the imperial measurements, but just if you go to any of the stores these days and you buy a measurement tape, they are in metric. So I prefer using the metric system. So in terms of the popping crease, 3.66 meters minimum. The return crease, and there are 2 return creases. They are 2.44 meters minimum. The bowling crease, this is an exact measurement. The bowling crease is 2.64 meters. The measurement from the bowling crease to the popping crease is 1.22 meters. Just a tip, and this is how I memorize the measurement of the creases. So if you look at the measurement from the bowling crease until the popping crease, and I want you to take note of where at the arrows, you'll see the arrow points to the back edge of the bowling crease, and if you go forward to the right, the arrow stops at the back edge of the popping crease. So that measurement should be 1.22 meters. So from the back edge of the popping crease, from the back edge of the bowling crease till the back edge of the popping crease is 1.22 meters. So how do I memorize this? That measurement is 1.22 meters. You will see that the return crease is 2.44 meters. If I multiply 1.22 times 2, I get to 2.44. And that's the measurement of my return crease. The measurement of the popping crease, if I take 1.22 and I multiply it by 3, I get to 3.66 meters. So only by memorizing the 1 from the bowling crease till the popping crease, that 1.22 meters, I can derive the return crease from the return crease measurement from it, and also the popping crease measurement from it. And lastly, we are on the measurements. What I want you to take note of is, in the exam, look at the arrows. Look at the points of the arrows, where the arrow is from. If you look at the bowling crease measurement, you'll see it's 2.64 meters. If you look at the arrow at the bottom starts at the inside edge of the return crease and it goes to the inside edge of the other return crease. So that measurement is 2.64 meters. So why I say you need to look at the where the arrow is to and from, because let's say in the exam and if we look at the bowling crease, for example, if the arrow starts at if at the return crease and it ends at the directly to in line with the middle stump. Just give me a second. Let me just go back. I've pressed the wrong button. Just give me a second. Yeah, okay, I've got it back. Tom, if the measurement screen is not on, you can let me know. So just to recap, in the exam, when it comes to measurements, look at where the arrow starts and where it ends. Like if you look at the bowling crease, you'll see the arrow starts at the inside edge of the return crease on the one side and ends at the inside edge of the return crease on the other side. So they're looking for the full measurement of the bowling crease. Let's say the arrow was halfway uh, from the middle stump till the inside edge of the return crease. If the arrows only show halfway, then they're only looking for half the measurement of the return crease, of the bowling crease. Same principle apply to the popping crease or any of the other creases. Look at the arrow and where it's from. If they ask for the full the arrows in full, they want the full distance or the full measurement of the popping crease of the creases, you then give the full measurement. If the arrow only show half, they're only looking for half the measurement. So that is just an exam tip. When it comes to preparation and maintenance of the playing area, mowing, the law tells us that the pitch and outfield in Morday cricket shall be mown on each day of the match on which play is expected to take place. So in terms of timing of these mowings, mowing of the pitch needs to be completed not later than 30 minutes before play is about to start. So if play starts at 10 o'clock on day 2, by 9:30 the mowing of the pitch should be completed. That's the latest. Mowing should be done by 9:30, 30 minutes before the scheduled starting time. Rolling of the pitch. So are you allowed to roll the pitch once the game has started? Yes, the law allows for this. The law tells us that once the game has started, you are only allowed to roll the pitch before the start of each innings, and we're not referring to the very first innings of the game. You are allowed to, before the start of each innings, the second innings, third innings, and fourth innings, the batting captain has the option to roll the pitch. And the other time where you can roll the pitch is before the start of each subsequent day's play. So on day 2, before play starts on day 2, the batting captain at the time has the option to roll the pitch. So now we know when you're allowed, before the start of each innings and before the start of each subsequent day's play. So how long are you allowed to roll? All the law tells us here is not more than 7 minutes. So are you allowed to roll for 5 minutes? Yes, you are allowed to. Are you allowed to roll for 4 minutes? Yes. 3 minutes? Yes. 30 seconds? Yes. All the law tells us not more than 7 minutes. So if the batting captain tells you, please umpire, we would like rolling for 8 minutes, you're going to tell him no. The maximum time that you're allowed to roll is 7 minutes. Intervals. When it comes to scheduled intervals, these are intervals that gets decided before the game starts. An example of this is the period between close of play on one day and the start of the next day's play. Intervals between innings, that's also a scheduled interval. Interval for meals, interval for drinks, and lastly, any other agreed interval. How long is the interval between innings? The law guides us, the law gives us a specific time. The law tells us that an interval between innings shall be 10 minutes, commencing from the close of the innings until the call of play at the start of the next inning. So there shall always be a 10-minute interval between innings. There are occasions where you will not allow a 10-minute interval between innings. Let's look at one such example. The law tells us that usually if there's a innings ends, there will be a 10-minute interval between the innings. One example where there will not be a 10-minute interval between innings, and law tells us that if the innings ends when 10 minutes or less remains before the close of play on that particular day. Then the law tells us if the innings ends with 10 minutes or less to close of play, there shall be no further play on that day. Just a quick example to illustrate the point. Let's say close of play is 5 o'clock. At 16:52, side A gets bowled out. What happens next? Usually we take a 10-minute change of innings interval, but here the law guides us. Because this is 10 minutes or less before the close of play of 5 o'clock in our example, that will be stumps for the day, and no change shall be made to the start of play the following day. We will start on time if, let's say, the starting time is 10 o'clock. Are you allowed to change your agreed time for the interval? Yes, the law is flexible. The law allows for a bit of leeway to change your tea interval. The law tells us that if an innings ends when 30 minutes or less remain before tea time, you shall take the interval immediately. So if tea time is 3 o'clock and side A gets bowled out at 14:40, this is within 30 minutes or less before the agreed time of 3 o'clock of tea. The law now tells us that tea shall be taken immediately and tea shall be your agreed duration. Let's say tea is usually 20 minutes, so 14:40 the innings ends. Tea will be from 14:40 till 3 o'clock, and the change of innings interval shall be included in the tea interval. So what happens if a side is 9 wickets down at either the lunch or the tea interval? So the law tells us if a side is 9 wickets down at either lunch or tea, and now you get to your lunchtime or your tea time, let's use lunch as an example. So lunch is 12 o'clock. So the last ball of the over gets bowled at 12 o'clock and the side is 200 for 9. So do you take your lunchtime? No, you will not take your lunchtime. Law guides us here. Law tell us to maximize play during the day. We shall extend play for a maximum of 30 minutes to allow the fielding side to see if they can take the 10th wicket. So max, you will extend play by a max of 30 minutes. So if you get to 12:30 and the side is still 9 wickets down, you will then take lunch at 12:30, and your lunch is usually 40 minutes, so lunch will be from 12:30 until 13:10. So just to summarize, if your side is 9 wickets down at lunch or tea, you will not take lunch or tea, you will extend it by a max of 30 minutes. Interval for drinks. The law guides us here. The law tells us that drinks interval shall not exceed 5 minutes. That's all the laws tell us. Different competitions have different timings for drinks intervals. I know at test match level, the drinks interval is 4 minutes. But all the law, when it comes to drinks, the law just guides us by telling us it shall not exceed 5 minutes. In terms of completing and over, the law tells us that if the agreed time for an interval is reached during the over, so lunch is at 12 o'clock, and you look at your watch, you see it's 12 o'clock, but you've only bowled 3 balls in the over. Law tell us you need to complete the over before taking lunch. But there's one exception, and that one exception is if with less than 3 minutes remaining before the agreed time for the interval, either a batter is dismissed, or a batter retires, or players need to leave the field. If any of these 3 instances happen, you shall take lunch immediately. Just a quick example to just illustrate this point. Lunch is at 12 o'clock. At 11:58, and with the side being on 200 for the loss of 4 wickets, the number 5 batter gets bowled. So at 11:58, number 5 batter gets bowled. A third ball of the over. So what do you do next? So remember, there are still 3 balls left in the over. Do you allow the new batter to come in to face the 3 remaining balls? No. The law tells us because there are now less than 3 minutes remaining before the agreed time for lunch, and because a batter is dismissed, lunch will be taken immediately at 11:58, and lunch usually being 40 minutes, so lunch will be from 11:58 until 12:38. When it comes to the toss, who needs to be present? The law tells us that the 2 captains needs to be present at the toss, and at least one of the umpire, preferably both. But if not possible, at least one of the umpires. So now we know 2 captains and at least one umpire needs to be present. Where do the toss take place? Law tell us anywhere on the field of play. Traditionally, the toss take place next to the match pitch. But the law tell us anywhere on the field of play, so just over the boundary, if you are allowed, as per the laws of cricket, to conduct the toss just as you step over the boundary. So now we know who needs to be there. We now know where. What are the timings of the toss? The window period for the toss is there's a 15-minute window period. So the law tells us not earlier than 30 minutes, nor later than 15 minutes before the scheduled or rescheduled time. So if your starting time is 10 o'clock, what is the window period for the toss? Anywhere between 9:30 and 9:45 that toss can take place. You're not allowed to toss at 9:27, 9:28, 9:29. You're also not allowed to toss at 9:46, 9:47, 9:48. It needs to happen between 9:30 and 9:45. And as soon as the toss is completed, the captain of the side winning the toss needs to inform the opposing captain of his or her decision immediately. Captain cannot tell you, give me 5 minutes, I want to go chat to my coach. No, that captain needs to inform the opposing captain and the umpires immediately of whether he or she is going to bowl or bat. In terms of the follow-on, so in 5-day cricket or 5 days or more, we know that the side which bats first and the lead is at least 200 runs, the captain of that side has the option to ask the other side to go bat again. So that captain can enforce the follow-on in a game of 5 days or more if the lead is at least 200 runs. But not all games are 5 days or more. There are games that's 3 or 4 days. What does the lead needs to be to enforce the follow on? It needs to be at least 150. In a 2-day game, it needs to be at least 100 runs, and in a 1-day match, it needs to be at least 75 runs to give the captain the option to ask the other side to follow on. So when it comes to a first day's play that is lost, so the important thing that you need to remember here is no play needs to take place on day one of the particular game. If I can use a test match as an example. If no play takes place on day one of a test match, not a single ball was bowled, play was not called on day one of the test match. So we know that the lead needs to be at least 200 runs in a 5-day test match. But the law tells us that if no play takes place on day one of the test match, and now on day 2 at 10 o'clock, the game actually starts. Because no play took place on day one of the test match, so now in terms of the follow on target, we now go to, if I can go to the previous screen, it now becomes a 3 or 4-day game. And what does the lead needs to be in a 4-day game? 150 runs. So what I want you to take away from this is it needs to be on the first day of, even in my example, the test match. If play takes place on day one of a test match and day 2 rains out or day 3 rains out, the lead stays 200 for this 5-day test match. It's only if the first day's place lost that you go to the 4-day lead, which is 150. In terms of a declaration, the captain of the batting side may declare an innings close whenever the ball is dead during that particular innings. In terms of the over, so when does the over start? An over starts as soon as the bowler takes his or her first step. That is when the over starts. Or if the bowler has no run-up, the over starts when his or her bowling action for the first delivery of that particular over. In terms of boundaries, so if the boundary is marked by a white line, the edge of the line nearest to the pitch shall be the boundary. Let's go to the picture on the next slide, which will illustrate this point clearly. So there you see the white line. Where is the boundary? If you look at the line, the boundary is the inner edge of that line. So whether it's a fence, a line, a rope. The boundary is the inner edge. Dead ball. The ball either becomes automatically dead, and there are 8 instances. There are 14 instances where either umpire to call and signal dead ball to inform the players that the ball is dead. Even though the law tells us that there are certain instances where the ball automatically becomes dead, but good umpiring technique is at times that you need to call and signal dead ball. Lots of players don't know the law. It's just to inform the players. So one of the things that I want to focus on when the ball automatically becomes dead, so the green highlighted portion is when the ball finally settles in the hands of the wicket keeper or of the bowler. That is all I wanted to focus on when the ball automatically becomes dead. There are 8 instances. I'm not going to focus on the other one, just on the first one when where it tells you finally settled in the hands of the wicketkeeper or the bowler. And who decides whether the ball is finally settled in the hands of the keeper or the bowler? The umpires alone. I've just alluded to there are times where you need to call and signal dead ball just to inform everyone. The players don't know the law, so if incidents happened when you need to call and signal dead ball, call it loudly so that so just to inform the players. So the highlighted portion here is when a serious injury to a player or umpire occurs, either umpire can call and signal dead ball. The important word in this sentence is it needs to be a serious injury to a player or an umpire. That is your judgment call as umpire. If you feel that an injury is serious enough, don't hesitate to call and signal dead ball. I'm not going to go through all of them. There are 14. I'm just wanted to focus on that one because there is an exam question on that one. So when it comes to the no ball, we're going to focus here on the feet because there are lots of exam questions on the no ball, in particular reference to the feet. So when it comes to the feet, the law looks at the back foot and the front foot differently. So let's see how the law looks at when it comes to the back foot. The law tells us that the bowler's back foot must land within and not touching the return crease. So bowler's back foot must land within and not touch the return crease. So when it comes to the back foot, which crease is associated to the back foot? The return crease. So all you look at when it comes to the creases, when it comes to the back foot, the return crease. When it comes to the front foot, which crease is associated with the front foot? Here you'll see the popping crease is associated with the front foot. And here the law tells us that when it comes to the front foot must land with some part of the foot, whether grounded or raised, behind the popping crease. There are 2 bullet points here. The first bullet point speaks about the front foot must land with some part of the foot, whether grounded or raised, on the same side of the imaginary line joining the 2 middle stumps as the return crease. There's a picture later on that will illustrate bullet point number 2 clearly. Bullet point number 1 clearly. But when it comes to the front foot, bowler's front foot must land with some part of the foot, whether grounded or raised, behind the popping crease. So let's look at a few pics to illustrate this. So when it comes to the front foot, which crease is associated with the front foot? The popping crease. So what question do you ask yourself when it comes to the front foot? Is there any part of the front foot, whether grounded or raised, behind the popping crease? In this picture, yes. Let's look at the back foot. Which crease is associated with the back foot? The return crease. Is there any part of the front of the back foot touching the return crease? Yes, it is. So because the back foot is touching the return crease, this is a no ball. Let's start with the front foot. Is there any part of the front foot, whether grounded or raised, behind the popping crease? Yes. Back foot. Any part of the back foot touching the return crease? In this instance, no, it's not. Even though the heel is over the return crease, but it is not touching the return crease. And because it's not touching the return crease, this is a fair delivery. Let's start with the back foot here. What question do you ask yourself? Is any part of the back foot touching the return crease? No. So we're happy with the back foot. Look at the front foot. Which crease is associated with the front foot? The popping crease. Is there any part of the front foot behind with the grounded or raised behind the popping crease? Yes, there's a big portion. So this is a fair delivery. To start with the front foot. Any part of the front foot with the grounded or raised behind the popping crease? Yes. Back foot. Any part of the back foot touching the return crease? Yes. And this is then a no ball. Back foot, any part touching the return crease? No. Front foot. Is there any part of the front foot whether grounded or raised behind the popping crease? And when it comes to the popping crease, you need to look at the back edge of the popping crease and not the front edge when judging a no ball. So looking at the back edge, is there any part of the foot whether grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease? Yes, there is. So we're happy that this is a fair delivery. Back foot, not touching the return crease, we're happy with the back foot. Is there any part of the front foot, whether grounded or raised, behind the back edge of the popping crease? No, there's not. And because there's no part of the front foot behind the back edge of the popping crease, that's why this is a no ball. Back foot, not touching the return crease, we're happy. Front foot, any part of the front foot, whether grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease. No, there's not. That's why this is a no ball. Important fact that I just want to point out here is when judging especially the front foot, you need to judge it on first landing. So upon first landing, you need to judge whether there's any part of the foot, whether grounded or raised, behind the back edge of the popping crease. Why am I mentioning this? There are times where the front foot, it lands behind the back edge of the popping crease, but then it slides over the popping crease. And this, just looking at this pic, just imagine it landed behind the popping crease and then it slides over and it ends up here. Where do you judge? You need to judge it when upon first landing. If it first landed and there was the foot, once the front foot's landed and there is a portion of the foot whether grounded or raised behind the popping crease, then it is a fair delivery. Back foot, we're happy. Front foot, any part of the foot grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease? Yes, there is. Fair delivery. Back foot, we're happy. Not touching the return crease. Front foot, any part of the front foot whether grounded or raised behind the back edge of the popping crease? No, there's not. So this is a no ball. Earlier I mentioned that it's also a no ball, and just visualize this. This is the left arm bowler bowling over the wicket, and the bowler puts his front foot over the imaginary line from middle stump to middle stump. If this is the case, you need to call no ball. And why? The law sees this as change of mode of delivery. So now this should have been a left arm over the wicket bowler. If the bowler now puts his foot this side of the imaginary line from middle stump to middle stump, the law sees it as the bowler now bowling around the wicket. Hence, you need to call and signal no ball. So what happens if a ball bounces more than once or it rolls along the ground? The law tells us that the umpire to call and signal no ball if a ball bounces more than once or it rolls along the ground before reaching the popping crease. The important part here is the ball bounces more than once. That is the important part. And it needs to bounce more than once before reaching the popping crease. If it bounced once and then it bounces second time after the popping crease, that's a legal delivery. But if it bounced once and it bounces second time before reaching the popping crease, it's then either umpire to call and signal no ball. When it comes to white ball, the law guides us here is that the umpire to only call and signal white ball as soon as the ball passes the striker's wicket. But the law tells us that even though you should only call and signal wide as soon as it passes the striker's wicket. But according to the law, it shall be considered wide from the instant that the bowler entered his or her delivery stride. And when does the bowler enter his or her delivery stride? When the back foot lands. So as soon as the back foot lands, according to the law, that is the moment that the ball is already wide. But you can only call and signal wide once it passes the striker's wicket. How can you be dismissed of a wide? There are four ways. Firstly, hit wicket. Secondly, obstructing the field. Thirdly, run out. And lastly, you can be stumped off a wide. In terms of substitute fielders, the law allows a substitute fielder. And who allows the substitute fielder? Only the umpires. Captain's got no say. What criteria does the umpire need to take into account when allowing a substitute fielder? Firstly, if the umpire is satisfied that during this particular game the fielder became injured or ill. That's the first criteria for allowing a substitute. The other criteria that you need to take into account is a wholly acceptable reason. If there's a wholly acceptable reason, the umpire shall also allow a substitute fielder. So what happens if a fielder decides to leave the field of play? It's important that they inform the umpire. They need to give a reason. The umpire will then make a note of when the player left and how long and when the player came back. Why is that important? Because that time that the player was off the field, that is known as penalty time. And before that player can bowl again, that player needs to serve the same amount of penalty time that player was off the field. So if the player left the field at 10:30 and returned at 10:40, so the player was off the field for 10 minutes, before that player can bowl again, that player needs to serve that same amount of time. So that player can bowl again at 10:50. There is a maximum penalty time that a player can serve, and that max is 90 minutes. So what does this max mean? Let's say a player goes off at 11 o'clock and only returns at 4 o'clock the afternoon. That is about 4-5 hours that the player was off the field. So that player does not have to serve all that time. Maximum penalty time is 90 minutes. So if that player returned at 4 o'clock, even though the player was off the field for about 3 to 4 hours, that player maximum time the player can serve is 90 minutes penalty time. So returning at 4 o'clock, that player can bowl again at 17:30. Penalty time does not disappear. Penalty time gets carried into the next day, into the next innings. Penalty time doesn't disappear. You won't carry it into the next game, but if it's still the same game, carries into the next innings and into the next day. Every time a player goes off the field and he hasn't served all his or her penalty time accumulates. You need to add up all that time that the fielder was not on the field of play. Penalty time accumulates. Scheduled interval does not add to unserved penalty time, nor does it count as penalty time served. So any scheduled interval, whether it's drinks, tea, lunch, it does not get added to the penalty time. I mentioned earlier where I said that penalty time does not disappear. It goes into the next day. It goes into the next innings of the match. In terms of appeals, so when it comes to the timing of appeals, there is a window period that the appeal is still valid. So for the appeal to be still to be valid, it must be made before the bowler begins his or her run up or bowling action if he usually doesn't have a run up for the next delivery, and before time has been called. So the appeal is still valid up until that bowler takes his or her first step for the next delivery and before time has been called. The call of over does not invalidate an appeal made prior to the start of the following over, provided that time has not been called. Let's look at a video. Tom, you can just let me know if there's no sound.
Fair catch. A catch shall be considered fair if the ball is held in a fielder's hand, hugged to the body of the catcher, or accidentally lodges in his or her clothing, helmet, or protective equipment. But of course, this being cricket, it isn't always that simple. If a fielder deliberately uses an item of clothing to try to catch the ball, it is not out, and 5 penalty runs are awarded to the batting side. However, the ball can be caught after it has deflected off the other batsman, an umpire, another fielder, including off a helmet being worn, or even if it lodges in a fielder's helmet. Perhaps the main criterion for a catch to be considered fair is that the ball must not touch the ground before being caught. Here, for example, the ball does not touch the ground even though the hand holding it does so in effecting the catch. This is a fair catch. And then there is the question of catches near the boundary. This is such an interesting subject that we've given it a film all of its own. To catch up on everything to do with catching, simply refer to Law 33 in the Blue Book.
So no runs to be scored if the strike is dismissed court. And when it comes to modes of dismissals, who is the boss? Tom said last week that bold is the boss. And who is second? Court is second. Court to take precedent against any other mode of dismissal except bold. Bold is boss. Court is number 2. Leg before wicket. Let's look at another video.
Leg before wicket. LBW. LBW is a little like the offside rule in football. Many people claim to know it, but how many people really do? Our handy checklist means that whether you find yourself umpiring an international test match or the kids on the beach, your reputation for fairness will remain intact. There are 5 basic criteria to consider. The batsman is out, leg before wicket, if 1. The bowler bowls a ball that isn't a no ball, unlike this poor fellow. 2. The ball, if it is not intercepted on the full, pitches in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the batsman's wicket. It cannot be out if the ball pitches outside the line of the leg stump. 3. The ball hits the batsman either full pitch or after pitching and before he hits it with his bat. 4. This is where it gets a bit more complicated. If the batsman was making a genuine attempt to play the ball, the point of impact must be between wicket and wicket for LBW to be an option. However, if the batsman has made no genuine attempt to play the ball, the contact must either be between wicket and wicket or outside the line of the off stump. 5. This is the crucial part. But for the interception by the batsman, the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps and dislodge the bails. Any questions? Just refer to Law 36 in the Blue Book.
So just again to go over the criteria that we need to consider. Shouldn't be a no ball. If not intercepted on the full, it needs to pitch between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the wicket. Should not have touched the bat first. Striker intercept the ball with any part of his or her person. And the point of impact needs to be between wicket and wicket. Or unless the striker's made no genuine attempt to play the ball with his or her bat, then the impact can be between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the wicket, and lastly would have gone on to hit the wicket. Let's go through a few examples. So what happens when we go through the checklist that we've just mentioned? With experience, you go through those five points quickly in your brain, and then you make a call. But just for illustrative purposes, let's go through the 5 points that we need to consider. So the right-handed batsman, what's the first question that you need to ask yourself? It needs to either pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket. Where did this ball pitch? On the leg side. That's why this pitch outside leg. Once it pitch outside leg, can never ever be out LBW. First question you need to ask yourself, and let's assume for purposes of this, that it's all legal deliveries. So first question, did it pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket? Yes, it pitched in between wicket and wicket. Did it touch the bat? No, it didn't touch the bat. Where was the impact? Impact between wicket and wicket? Yes. Last question that you need to ask yourself, would it gone on to hit the stumps? If your answer to that question are yes, then you can give the batter out LBW. First question, did it pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket? Pitch on the offside. Did it touch the bat? No, it didn't. Where was the impact? Was the impact between wicket and wicket? No, the impact was not between wicket and wicket. The impact was outside the line of off stump. That's why this is not out LBW, because batter playing a shot, impact outside off stump. First question you ask yourself, where did it pitch? Did it pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket? Yes, it pitched on the offside. Where was the impact? Was the impact between wicket and wicket? No, the impact was not between wicket and wicket. The impact here is outside the off stump. Okay, but there was that one exception where you can consider an LBW even if the impact is outside off stump. That is when the batter does not offer a stroke, which in this case, now you can consider, even though the impact is outside off stump, you can consider this appeal. And then the last question that you need to ask yourself, would this gone on to hit the stumps? If your answer to that question is yes, you give the batter out. If the answer is no, you give the batter not out. Did it pitch outside off stump or between wicket and wicket? Yes, it pitched between wicket and wicket. Did it touch the bat? No. Was the impact between wicket and wicket? Yes. Would it have gone on to hit the stumps? If your answer to that question is yes, you give the batter out, LBW. Did it pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket? Yes, it pitched between wicket and wicket. Did it touch the bat? No. Where was the impact? Was it between wicket and wicket? Yes, it was between wicket and wicket. The last question that you need to ask yourself, would it have gone on to hit the stumps? If you look at this, and I imagine this is a left-arm bowler bowling over the wicket to a right-handed batter. So ball pitching in line, batter is playing forward. Yes, the impact is between wicket and wicket, but I think that ball is missing off stump. That's why I would say this is not at LBW. Pitch outside off stump or between wicket and wicket? Yes, it pitched outside off stump. Was the impact between wicket and wicket? Yes, the impact was between wicket and wicket. What is the last question that you need to ask yourself? Would it have gone on to hit the stumps? Looking at where the ball pitched, looking at Yes, it did hit him in line, but if we look at the trajectory of the ball, I think this ball is going down leg stump. Did it pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket? Yes, it pitched on the offside. Well, where was the impact? Yes, it was between wicket and wicket. Would it have gone on to hit the stumps? If you look at where the impact was, even though it's between wicket and wicket, but it's on top of the flap of the pad, I think this is going over the top. Second last law for the evening. I'm gonna watch the video here.
Stumped. All batsmen fear being stumped, and all wicket-keepers dream of stumping batsmen. So let's be clear about the law. The only player who can stump a batsman is this fellow, the wicket-keeper. A stumping can take place provided that the ball is not a no ball. You can be stumped off a wide, however. Here, for example, the batsman has moved out of his or her ground to play the ball, but has missed it and has not attempted a run. The wicket is fairly put down by the wicketkeeper without the intervention of another fielder. When all these conditions are met, the batsman will find that he or she has indeed been stumped. It's also okay for the ball to rebound onto the stumps off any part of the wicketkeeper, including his or her protective equipment or helmet. If it is a no ball, the batsman will not be out-stumped and is also protected from being run out, as long as he or she is not attempting a run. Don't be stumped about stumping. Get a copy of the Blue Book and study Law 39.
And the last law that I'm covering for this evening in my revision lecture is the time-out law. And here it tells us that after the fall of a wicket or the retirement of a batter, the incoming batter must, unless time has been called, be ready to receive the ball, or the other batter needs to receive the next ball within 3 minutes of the dismissal or the retirement. According to the laws of cricket, that the time span is 3 minutes. There are other competitions where this time span differ, but according to the laws of cricket, it needs to be within 3 minutes of the dismissal. That's all I'm covering in tonight's revision lecture. I'm now handing over to Tom. Tom, over to you.
Thank you, Abdullah, and good evening to all the listeners. Welcome to my click-by-click demonstration of the exam. Before we get into the demonstration, I just want to go through the admin that needs to take place this week for all of you to be registered for the exam. I have, over the last 3 weeks, been sending out emails with the payment details for the exam. If you are in South Africa, you need to pay 300 rands to Western Province Cricket Umpires Association's Standard Bank account, details of which will be emailed again later this evening. If you are not in South Africa, the exam fee is 500 rands or $30 payable via wise.com or PayPal. Please, if you are not able to use either of those two payment methods, please find a friend, a colleague who is able to pay on your behalf. What's important is that all payment proofs of payment should be emailed to training@wpcua.co.za. And if you are paying for more than one person, then you need to tell me the email addresses of all the people that you are paying for. So it is possible and it is allowed for one person to pay for more than one other person, but I need to know who that payment is for. So far, I've got about 30 payments from all around the world. Thank you to all of you. I unfortunately do not have time to reply individually to each one of the payers, but we do appreciate your support. What will happen this evening is I will send out a list of all the email addresses that have been paid for, and I will do that again on Wednesday night, and I'll do that again for final time on Friday night, because Friday 3 p.m. South African time is the deadline for exam payments to be made and proofs of payments to be sent to training@wpcua.co.za. Then what's going to happen on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. South African time, while all of you are watching a T20 World Cup match, I will send exam link emails to all of those email addresses which exam fees have been paid for. The screen I am currently presenting is the inbox of my new email address, thomas.mokorosi@gmail.com. I had to create a new email address. Why? Because the exam link system can only send an exam link email to an email address once. Okay, so over the years doing all of these demos, I have sent the exam link email to tom.mokorosi@gmail.com. I've sent it to training@wpcua.co.za. I've sent it to Abdullah's 2 email addresses. I've even sent it to my wife's 2 email addresses. So for us to be able to do this demonstration this evening, I needed to send it to a new email address. Why? Because no one email address can receive an exam link email more than once. Okay, so what I've done is I've generated the exam link email, and you can see that it doesn't come from me, it comes from Umpire's Universe. So let's open the email and see what it looks like. And it tells us, welcome to the Introduction to Umpiring online course. Please find the details below to start the test. Now, what's important here is that I have sent myself the Introduction to Umpiring online course. You guys will receive the level 1 online umpiring course exam. Okay, but because we're going to go through this mock exam, I obviously couldn't show you what the level 1 exam looks like, but the email that you will receive will look similar to this on Saturday morning. I'm just refreshing it so that that image comes up. It flashed for 1 second and then it disappeared. Apologies for that. But what I'll do is when I send the email later this evening, I'll make sure that that image is on for you guys to see what the email looks like. Okay, now even though it says I've been enrolled, what needs to happen is I need to register first and then log in. Okay, and what's important is that this link is valid for 10 days. So the link is going to be valid for all of you from Saturday, the 29th of October at 9 a.m. until November, the 8th of Tuesday, the 8th of November until 8:59 a.m. South African time. Okay, so it's exactly 10 days from the moment that I send it. And in those 10 days, you can attempt the exam up to 5 times. to achieve the required pass mark of 80%. And what's important is that if you do not achieve 80%, you do have the option to reattempt the exam immediately. But I would suggest against that. I would suggest you would rest after attempting it for the first time. Try it again the next day after you have gone through Abdullah's presentation with the revision slides. And of course, it is an open book exam. You are allowed to check your law book. You are allowed to check the presentations we've sent you, but you have a limit of 90 minutes. So if you take longer than 90 minutes, or when 90 minutes has gone through, you will be stopped and the exam will automatically calculate based on the answers that you submitted your result. There are 69 questions and you need to get 56 questions correct to get the required pass mark of 80%. Note that 55 divided by 69 gives you 79.7%. Unfortunately, that is not rounded up to 80%. That will still classify as a fail, and you will need to reattempt to get 56 or more. Once you achieve 56 or more out of 69, you will not have further attempts to try and improve on your mark. What will happen, and we'll see it this evening, is that an email will be automatically sent to training@wpcua.co.za with your certificate attached to that email. So the certificate will not automatically be emailed to you, it will be automatically emailed to me. And depending on when I am next able to check that inbox, I will forward it to you as soon as I can. Okay, so if you are doing the exam at 2 a.m. South African time and you pass, I can guarantee you I won't send it to you in the next 30 minutes. I will wake up at 8 a.m. and I'll forward it to you at 8:30 a.m. So please just beware that depending on what time you pass your exam, you will receive your certificate anytime within 12 hours of passing. Okay, so let us go into the registration process. So click on register, and the email address that you are registering has to be the one that the email exam link went to. Okay. Please, if everybody can stay on mute until I'm done. Abdullah, if you can help me to mute anybody that is unmuted. You put in a password and you confirm the password. Let me just check that I've got the same number of characters, because my keyboard sometimes enters 2 characters when I press once. Happy with that. And just a note that this is not your email password. Yes, you can make it your email password, but this is the password you are creating for your login on Umpire's Universe. Okay, select I agree to terms of use and you click on sign up. I'm going to save that password so that I can use it again when I log in. Okay, it says now user created, please check your mail. So guys, a lot of people make this mistake. They think that me sending them the exam link has registered them for the exam. That's not the case. You need to do the registration process I've just done for you to be registered, and then only can you log in to your exam. let's go back to my inbox. And you can see that I have got a minute ago a confirmation of my email. And this tells me that I've signed up. But before I can log in to the exam, I need to confirm the account. If you do not confirm the account and you try and log in now, it would not allow you to log in. Okay, so I need to confirm my account. And once account is verified, only then can I go in and type in my email address. Because I saved the password, it is automatically inputted for me, and now I can log in. Cool. So it recognizes that I have been registered for the Introduction to Umpiring course. As I mentioned, you guys will all be registered for the level 1 umpiring course, which is green in the background. So you won't see a blue background like you're seeing now. You'll see a green background on Saturday or whenever you choose to log into your exam. Then I click on view course. And here I am now going to enter all my details. So I'm going to use my full name, and this name needs to be what you want to see on your certificate. Okay, so don't put your nickname on there. Don't put your short name on there. I'm putting Thomas because that's my full name, not Tom. Okay, date of birth, guys, this can be a little bit frustrating, but it's actually quite easy to toggle through the years. And so I'm going to give away my age here. I'm going to 1981, and I'm going to February and select the 9th. Okay, race is African, gender is male, city is Cape Town, and province is Western Cape. Now, for those of you who are not in South Africa, please you can use your city, but please use Western Cape. Okay, save changes. My profile has been updated. Now I go to my courses. Okay. And I'll go to view courses. And there is the ability for me to take test. Okay. This is now after I have registered, logged in, updated my profile, clicked on my courses. Now I am able to take test. You will see that the beginner's exam has a limit of 30 minutes. There's 35 questions. We're going to go through all 35 of them. I'm going to ask Abdullah to facilitate any candidates with their hands up who can help me answer the questions, just for you to get a feel of the questions. In this particular exam, it's only true or false questions. In the level 1 exams, there are also multiple choice questions. So a few of you asked on the chat box earlier while Abdullah was presenting about the measurements. Do we need to use the metric or can we use inches? You will see both the centimeters and the inches amounts on the answers. Remember, it is either true or false, or it is multiple choice. So you do not have to memorize any answers. You just need to know that the maximum length of the bat is 96.43. So when you see 96.43, you know to select 96.43 instead of 98.52 or 106.78, as the case might be. Okay, so Abdullah, I'm going to click on Take Test. And what's important, guys, is that the true or false questions specifically, remember we mentioned in one of our first lectures, is if a statement is not 100% true, you need to mark it false. And also read it carefully, because there are some double negative true or false questions where you just need to think clearly before answering. Don't rush. It's 90 minutes for 69 questions. So it's about 1.5 minutes per question for the level 1 exam. And a lot of them you are going to answer in less than a minute. So where you require some thinking, especially with the true or false tricky ones, just take your time. Don't panic. And if you need to check your course material, but of course, stay within the limitation. Last but not least, very important, please select your provincial association. This will determine that your certificate is emailed to me, and all of you, and I repeat, all of you, even South Africans not in Cape Town, need to select Western Province. Why? Because if you select any other association, the certificate will not be emailed to me. It will be emailed to the head of training at these particular associations. So guys, please make it easy for all of us and select Western Province, where it asks for your provincial association. Okay, that is all of you on this course who will be writing the exam come Saturday morning. Now we start the test, and please guys, don't be afraid to get any questions wrong. This is merely just a chance for you to show what you've learned and also try and get an idea of how to answer true or false questions. So question number 1, a batter will not be given out if the ball touches an umpire. True or false? Okay, this is where I said be careful about a negative question in a true or false. So a batter will not be given out if the ball touches an umpire. Abdullah, do we have anybody who wants to give us an answer to this, true or false? And they can unmute their microphone.
Yes, Tom, we have one hand. Adil, you may unmute yourself and provide us with the answer, please. True or false?
It's false.
That is correct, Adil. A batsman can be given out if the ball touches an umpire, so this statement is false. We're going to submit, and what you will see is that it does take a little bit of time to switch over to the next question. That's because the answer is being submitted in the background and marked at the same time. Next question, no runs will be scored if the batter is run out on the 3rd run. No runs will be scored if the batter is run out on the 3rd run. Again, this is a negative statement. Is it true or is it false? Abdullah, do we have any volunteer to answer?
Yes, Tom, we have 4 volunteers. The first hand was Arsalan. If you can unmute your mic and provide us with the answer, please.
The answer is false.
The answer is false. That is correct, because 2 runs will be scored if a batter is run out on the 3rd run. Well done. The clock keeps counting down, so keep at all times aware of your timer. Next question is, a fielder may return to the field without the consent of the umpire. Abdullah, this one often lots of players are unaware of this, so I hope our candidates have learned. Do we have any volunteers to help
Yes,
answer?
yes, Tom. We have quite a few volunteers. I'm going to give preference to those that didn't answer yet. So, Daitram, if you can unmute your mic and provide us with the answer, please, Daitram.
Yeah, sure, Abdullah. So it's going to be false.
That's correct, Daitram. A fielder may not return to the field without the consent of the umpires, so the statement is false, and we shall submit. And we will have a question and answer session at the end, so if anybody still does have any questions on the exam or the content that we've covered, don't worry, this is not your only opportunity to speak out this evening. Next question, a batter can be dismissed from a wide delivery. That's pretty straightforward. Abdullah?
Yeah, lots of hands, Tom. First hand up was AG. That's the name in the of the attendee. AG, if you can unmute your mic and provide us with the answer, please.
That's true.
That is true, AG. Thank you very much. A batter definitely can be dismissed from a wide. Abdullah has taken us through those different scenarios. Next question deals with Law 31. An appeal covers all modes of dismissals, all ways of being out, true or false. I'm sure we've got a few hands again, Abdullah. Please
Yes,
help.
we do. We do have a few hands. Muhammad Irfan, if you can unmute yourself, please.
True.
That is true. Only one appeal is required and it covers all 9 modes of dismissals. Submit. And we go on to the next question. Again, a negative statement, so just be careful when you answer it. It is not against the spirit of the game to dispute an umpire's decision. This one is not particularly anywhere in the... No, it is in fact in the preamble that we covered on our very first lecture. Abdullah, any hands?
Yes, we have quite a few repeat hands, but I'm going to give preference to those that hasn't answered. Banele, if you can unmute yourself and give us the answer, please, Banele.
This one will be true.
Banele, just read this carefully. Remember, it is a negative statement. It is not against the spirit of the game.
Yes.
So are you saying that it is not against the spirit of the game for a player to dispute an umpire's decision?
It is actually against the spirit of the game.
Okay, so then it should be false. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, guys, if it is a negative statement, just be careful about true or false. Very important just to think it through before you answer blindly or quickly. Don't be rushed. We've still got 24 minutes to answer 23 questions or 24 questions. Next one, Abdullah, quite straightforward. May a substitute may act as a wicket keeper. True or false? I'm sure we've got hands.
Yes, we do. Ismail Palika, if you can unmute yourself and provide us with the answer, please.
False.
Why would you say that's false, Ishmael?
The wicketkeeper can only be taken with the players inside the field, not as a substitute. Sorry, substitute within the players, yes, it's true.
That is true, Ishmael.
Yeah, true, yes.
Just to complete the statement, the substitute may act as a wicket keeper with the consent of either of the umpires.
Yes.
But because the entire statement on its own is 100% true, we shall mark it true. Okay. Guys, let's be very careful with these true or false statements, please. The bowler's end umpire needs to call play after any interval or interruption. True or false? That's pretty straightforward. Abdullah, hands?
Yes, quite a few hands. I'm just looking for those that hasn't answered yet. Abhishek, if you can unmute your mic and provide us with the answer, please.
It's true, sir.
That is true, Abhishek. Well done. The bowler's end umpire needs to call play after any interval or interruption. If you can all help Abdullah by putting your hands down, those of you who have answered questions already, so that we can have fresh hands to answer new questions. Question number 9, the umpire must give the batter out leg before wicket because no shot was offered. Abdullah has covered that just in today's lecture in a fair amount of detail. Do we have any fresh hands, Abdullah?
Yes, we do. Baines, if you can unmute yourself and provide us with the answer, please.
Yeah, good evening. The question is false.
The statement is false, Baines.
Yeah,
It is not necessary that the umpire must give the batter out. There are 5 questions that need to be asked, and this is not the only one of the questions that need to be answered. So quite happy to mark that one false. Okay, I'm hearing quite a lot of feedback in the background. Those of you, please, can you mute your microphones? The next question is, the ball becomes dead when it lodges in the clothing of an umpire. True or false? Abdullah, let's find out if the guys know.
Yeah, JJ Erasmus, if you can unmute yourself, please.
It's false.
JJ, why would you say it's false?
The answer is true. AB on the lolly.
If the ball becomes lodged in the clothing of an umpire or the clothing or equipment of a batter, then the ball becomes dead. If the ball becomes lodged in the clothing of a fielder, then it does not become dead. Okay. So we are going to mark this one.
It's true.
True. Correct. Thank you. And I'm just going to go and mute everybody because I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Just bear with me. Okay, that's much better. Right, back to our questions. The bowler's back foot may touch the return crease on delivery. Abdullah's just gone through that in quite a fair bit of detail in terms of your foot fault no balls. Do we have any volunteers to answer this question, Abdullah? True or false?
Yes, Tom, we do. Tayo, if you can unmute yourself, please, and provide us with the answer. Tayo, can you unmute yourself? I'm going to the next one, Tom. Ebi Patrick Aga.
The answer is true.
Think about this one, Ebi. the bowler's back foot may touch the return crease when he or she delivers. Is that going to be a legal delivery or is that going to be a no ball?
The answer is false. Sorry.
That is correct.
It's a no.
Yes. It's a no ball. Okay, so let's please, guys, read the question through carefully when it's a true or false. Next question. The umpire to call wide before the ball passes the striker's wicket. Abdullah mentioned that a delivery is deemed wide from the moment the bowler is in the delivery stride. However, when shall wide be called? Abdullah, do we have any hands?
Yes, Tom. Justin Ukere. If you can unmute yourself.
The answer is false.
That is false. We need to wait until the ball has passed the striker's wicket before calling wide. Well done. I'm just going back to mute everybody because I'm getting a lot of feedback again. Just bear with me, please. Okay, that seems to have gone again. Thank you. Abdullah, next question. A team can field with 12 players. I think that's one of the first few slides that you showed in the revision lecture. True or false? Any hands?
Yes, Tom. Usman, if you can unmute yourself and provide us with the answer, true or false?
Yeah, false. A team cannot field 12 players.
A team may field with a maximum of 11 players on the field. Thank you, Usman. Well done. Next question, Abdullah. An injured player may have a substitute at any time. True or false? Injured or ill. Any volunteers?
Yes, Tom. Seyi, can you unmute yourself, please? Seyi, can you unmute yourself? Okay, if not, I'm going to go to the next one, Tom. Suresh, can... Okay, there says answered. He said it's true, Tom.
That's true. Thank you. Well done. Let's move on swiftly. We're halfway through the time and we're not yet halfway through the questions. A batter will be stumped if the wicketkeeper kicks the ball onto the stumps. True or false? That's pretty straightforward. I think we saw that on the stumping animation video. Any volunteers, Dula?
Yeah, Suresh, I saw your hand up. Can you unmute yourself, please?
It's true.
That is true, Suresh. Well done. Thank you for your input. Next question. A leg bye can be scored if the batter did not attempt to play the ball. True or false? Abdullah, any volunteers?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I'm just looking for those that hasn't answered yet. Satrugna, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, it's a false.
That is false, Satrugna. Well done. Leg byes can only be awarded if the striker was attempting a shot or taking evasive action. Next question. The bowler's end umpire to stand anywhere he or she feels comfortable. This is a bit of a vague statement. Is it 100% true? Abdullah, who would like to help us with that?
I'm just looking for new names, Tom. I don't see any new names. I'm going to go to the first hand that I see. And there I see a new name. RK, can you unmute yourself and provide us with the answer, please?
False. False.
False, RK. I would tend to agree with you there because the law says that the bowlers and umpire should stand anywhere to make his or her decision, but they need to be out of the way of the bowler's run-up as well as obstructing the striker's view. So happy to go with false. We will see once we get to the end of the exam which questions we have got wrong or right. So it will be interesting to see what that one was. Next question, the bowlers and umpire to call and signal no ball if more than 2 fielders are behind the popping crease. Now here they don't tell us if this is on the leg side or on the offside. So I would say, is the statement complete? Abdullah, anybody want to give that a go?
Sandeep, if you can unmute yourself, please.
Can you
It's
hear me?
actually false.
It says bowlers and umpire. So if it is a popping crease behind the leg side, the non-striker, I mean the batting in umpire, striker inside umpire should call and no ball. So it's a tricky one. I'll go with the false.
I would go with false as well. Well spotted. Abdullah, I think either umpire can actually call or signal no ball if there are more than 2 fielders behind the popping crease on the leg side.
It's a leg umpire.
But
It's a
Yeah,
striker.
Tom, yeah,
striker.
in practice, I agree with you, either umpire, but actually the law is very specific. The law actually tell us that this is the strikers in umpire's call. So the law actually used the name strikers in umpire. So according to the law, the strikers in needs to make this call.
Okay, well done to the answer of that question. Well spotted. An umpire may give a batter out without an appeal. We went through this in Law 31, Abdullah, last week. Any volunteers, true or false?
There's quite a few. I'm just looking for the new name, Tom. Norbert, if you can unmute yourself, please.
I'll go with false.
That's correct, Norbert. The law requires that an umpire to act on an appeal. Question number 20. A batter may be given out leg before wicket if the ball pitches outside leg stump. We've just gone through that. Abdullah has in the revision lecture. True or false? Abdullah?
Just going through the names. Ishaq Kasim.
I think it's false.
That's correct, Ishaq. Well done. You will go far if you give deliveries pitching outside leg, not out for leg before wicket. The pitch length is the same for all ages.
False.
We've got a false immediately there. Thank you very much. We shall ask for a fresh hands going forward. A batter may retire at any time during his or her innings. Abdullah, any fresh hands that can help us with this one?
Yes, I see a fresh hand, Tom. He's lowered his hand. Let me go to the next one. Venkatesh.
Can you hear me? I think the answer should be false. The ball has to be dead before the batsman can retire.
I agree with you there. The batter can retire at any time during his innings when the ball is dead. So because this statement is not complete, 100% true, we'll mark it false. Let's check if that is given correct or not at the end. Next question. Umpires do not need to agree the boundaries with the captains. True or false? We went through this in the first lecture in law number 2. Abdullah, any new hands?
I don't see any new hands, Tom. Let's just give it 1 or 2 more seconds. No new hands, Tom. I'll have to go to the first hand, which is Justin's. Justin, if you can unmute yourself, please.
The answer is true.
Think back to the duties of umpires when it comes to the toss. Justin, don't we have to agree the boundaries with the captains?
Or we shall determine. I mean, like, there is a difference between determination and agree, right? 2.3 consultation with captains.
For me, it's exactly the same. So if there is a tree hanging inside the field of play, we need to agree if it's going to be 4 runs or 6 runs if the ball hits the tree on the full. Okay, so we do need to agree. So this statement is false. Okay, guys, I'm getting a lot of feedback. If you can please all mute your microphones. The next question, a bowler will be credited with a run-out dismissal. This is pretty straightforward. True or false? Abdullah, any new hands?
Yes, Tom, I do see a new hand. Compete.
That's
Yes,
Bart.
it's hi Tom, it's Bart. That statement is false.
That's correct, Bart. A bowler will not be credited with a run-out. Next question. We've got 6 minutes left to try and answer 11 questions. Let's fly through them. A change of innings will be classified as an interval. Abdullah, true or false?
Tom, I'm looking for new hands. I don't see any new hands. The first hand raised is there. I see a new hand, Tom. SP, if you can unmute yourself, please.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah. True or false, SP? That is true. A change of innings is classified as an interval. Thank you very much. Moving to the next questions. The captains are responsible for their team's conduct. This is also in the preamble spirit of cricket. Abdullah, any new hands, true or false? The captains are responsible for their team's behavior.
Yes, Tom, I see a new hand. Cornelis.
True. True. Thank you, Cornelis. We're flying through these questions now to try and get through all of them in 5 minutes. Dead ball signal is made by extending both arms horizontally. So just imagine that in your head. And are we extending both arms horizontally for a dead ball signal? Abdullah, true or false? Any new hands?
Yes, I do see a new hand. Avik, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, this is false.
That is false. This signal being described is the signal for a wide. And we know that signal for dead ball is crossing hands around waist height. An umpire may signal 4 byes in one motion to the scorers. So one hand up in the air signaling byes and the other hand signaling boundary 4 at the same time. True or false? Abdullah, any new hands signaling byes to us?
No, Tom. I don't see any new hands. I will go to number 1, which is Satrugna.
Yeah, hello.
Satrugna? Yeah, hello. We can hear you clearly.
Yeah, this is false. This is to be signal
That's
as per signals.
the signals need to be given separately. Correct, Satruguna. Thank you very much. Next question. A striker may set for a run from in front of the popping crease. True or false? Think about David Miller. He often bats outside of his crease. Does he need to go back into his crease before setting off for the first run? True or false? Any new hands, Abdullah?
Give it 1 or 2 more seconds, Tom. I've seen lots of old hands. I'm not sure if I've mentioned this name. Avishek.
So it's true.
That is true. You can take off for your first run from outside of the popping crease. Question number 30. A bowler may change his or her delivery mode without informing the umpire. Is this allowed? True or false? Abdullah, any fresh hands? If not, old hands are fine.
I don't see any new hands, Tom. So I'm going to go to number 1, which is Daitram.
So yeah, it's clearly false. Bowler has to indicate the umpire if they change their delivery mode of delivery.
Perfect. Thanks, Datram. Moving swiftly along. Teams are
Thanks.
allowed to distract opponents verbally. This is in fair or unfair play, law 41, which we haven't covered because it's not tested in the level 1 exam. However, I'm sure you guys know this quite well. True or false, Abdullah, any new hands?
Just give them 1 or 2 more seconds, Tom. I do see a new hand. Osasu. Can you unmute yourself, please, Osasu?
False.
False is correct. There will be punishment for that. This one is in the level 1 exam. Umpires are the sole judges of fair and unfair play. Abdullah went through it earlier this evening. Any new hands or old hands will also be helped. Abdullah, we've got 50
Yes, Tom,
seconds.
I see a new hand. Babatunde.
True.
That is true. Correct, Babatunde. Thank you. Question 33, and it won't be a train smash if we don't get through all the questions. We'll see what happens if you run out of time in your exam. The umpire must only consider the first interception when considering a leg before wicket appeal. Abdullah, true or false?
Tom, I'm just looking for new hands. I don't see any new hands, Tom, so I'm going to go to top of the list, which is Muhammad Irfan.
Our time has expired. I'm going to submit the answer nonetheless. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we have you see what we have submitted. Just going to mute everybody.
Hey, Abdullah, a couple of questions. Hello.
I'm just going to complete the exam. Please give me 5 minutes to go through the logistics of what happens when the time has expired. I'm hearing a lot of background noise, and thank you for muting. Okay, so now what we've seen is that our time has expired. So we see that we did not answer question 6. We did not answer question 18. We did not answer question 31. Now, you might be surprised that it's telling us we didn't answer question 6, 18, and 31 when we didn't get to questions 33, 34, 35. However, what you will find in this exam, as well as the level 1 exam that you guys will be doing, is that the questions are rotated. So if you do not pass on your first attempt, the second attempt, you will get the same 69 questions, but they will not be in the same order that they were on your first attempt. And if you decide to do the exam with a friend or a colleague, you will not get the questions in the same order. So everybody's order of questions will be different. Okay. Once you have completed your exam or your time has run out, then you need to click on get results. Okay. This is just to confirm what you have answered. And now what's happening in the background is all of the questions that you have submitted answers to are being marked in the background. So that will take quite a while. And then you will also get to see which questions you got correct and which questions you got incorrect. And obviously the questions that we did not answer, we got incorrect. And this one, where we said the bowlers and umpire to call and signal no ball if more than 2 fielders behind the popping crease, I think we marked it as false. It looks like it should be true. We can probably disagree with that, but we got a result of 88.5%. What does that mean? It means that we have passed. Well done, you successfully passed your test. Your certificate has been sent to your local association. As I mentioned, you need to enter Western Province as your local association so that the certificate is emailed to me. So training at wpcua.co.za is where the certificates go to. Let us go see if that certificate has gone through. And there it is. All immediate, 26 minutes past 8 p.m. South African time. We have our introduction to umpiring umpire certificate. Remember, I put my full name as the name that I want on my certificate, and it's got today's date. So obviously, if you pass your exam on Saturday, it will have the 29th of October. If you pass it on Sunday, it will have the 30th of October. In this particular case, I am able to see this immediately, and I'm going to send it to the parser, thomas.mukorosi@gmail.com, and I'm going to say, well done on passing your exam. Please find your certificate attached, and what will also happen is I will mention that at the end of the exam window period, that is Tuesday, the 8th of November, I will email all the passers of the exam the option to join Western Province Cricket Umpires Association and to start umpiring. The way that we have put together our application form for umpires in and around Cape Town who want to start umpiring is it's an online application form. I cannot go through it now and show you what it looks like because it will only be accessible to those who have passed the exam and also those who have not previously applied to become a member of WPCUA.co.za. We have mentioned in the past that if you are not in South Africa and you wish to come to Cape Town and umpire, we do have an exchange program. Datram, I know, is currently applying for his tourist visa to come from India to umpire in South Africa from November, possibly until February. The tourist visa that South Africa offers is valid for 90 days, so you cannot come for longer than 3 months. We will, like I mentioned, send you a membership application form on November the 8th of November in the evening, because the exam link expires in the morning. So obviously this is only available to those candidates who have passed, and they would have received their certificate an hour or 2 or 12 after passing their exam. What's important is if you are coming from a foreign country, is I will make mention of our match secretary's email address, and you would need to email the match secretary, Shamil Isaacs, when you are planning to arrive in South Africa, how long you're going to be staying, and if you are available for matches on Saturdays and Sundays, which weekends you are available. Book accommodation through Airbnb, and it's advisable to stay somewhere in the southern suburbs. There's the list of the suburbs that you can search Airbnb by. Why? Because there are a lot of cricket fields in and around the southern suburbs, and it's quite a safe neighborhood, and also close to Newlands Cricket Ground, where you can also watch provincial matches during weekends. We do not offer any support in terms of visa applications, accommodation booking, and travel assistance. You need to do that all on your own. I've never had to apply for a tourist visa to come to South Africa. Why? Because I live in South Africa. So please reach out to Harsha if you have his details. If not, you can ask me for his details. He is an Indian umpire who comes on exchange to South Africa. He's been here thrice. Not sure if he's coming this particular summer, but from the Netherlands, we also have Adrian van den Dries, who has just arrived on the 20th, last week Thursday, and he will be getting appointed to matches from this coming weekend. So we do welcome anyone who has passed any course with us to come from anywhere around the world. You will just also need to let us know what level of umpiring you have had in your home country, so that we allocate you to a suitable league here in Cape Town. You will get paid for your matches that you umpire. Just note that you cannot make a living from this payment, because you will only be umpiring Saturday and Sunday. There are very few matches during the week. Those matches during the week are specifically reserved for our members who do not have jobs during the week, and there are more than enough members available during the week for matches in the week. And we will pay you cash at the end of your stay, in terms of after your last match. And note that we will also deduct from your match fees your membership fee of 500 rands, as well as any clothing that you have been given by the association. I think it's 250 rands for a standing shirt, and 150 rands for a cap. A standing hat, a floppy hat. And this applies to members who are in Cape Town and also join. So say, for example, your first 2 matches are men's 50 overs First Division D matches, which is the lowest league you can start in, a men's league. You earn 450 rands worth of match fees for each of those matches. So say you stand in 2 of those matches, you've earned 900 rands worth of match fees. The first 500 rands of that goes to your membership fees, and then 250 rands goes to your standing shirt, and then 150 rands goes to your floppy hat that is got Western Province Cricket Umpires Association branding. So in essence, you will not get paid for your first 2 matches, and if you order extra clothing, a second standing shirt and a second standing hat, then you won't get paid for your 3rd match, or you'll just get paid 50 rands for your 3rd match, because it's 400 rands would have been used for your spare shirt and your spare standing hat. So please, guys, you are all welcome, but note that this is not a money-making scheme, because even your travel to matches will cost you, and is for your own account. And of course, living expenses in South Africa, you can Google those. It's not, especially Cape Town in the southern suburbs, it's not a particularly cheap place to stay and live. It is very enjoyable, beautiful, and the umpiring will be great to put on your CV. What we do also offer to our exchange umpires is the captain's reports that they fill out after every match. You will receive all of those at the end of your stay. After your last match, you will get the captain's reports from all of your matches that you can show as proof that you have umpired in South Africa. That, I think, is all the admin I can think of. Please feel free to ask any questions, put them in the chat box. Before we go to our question and answer sessions for today, I have had quite a few queries over the last couple of days, or yesterday and today, over a couple of incidents which have happened in the Men's T20 World Cup that's currently underway in Australia. Of course, yesterday was the blockbuster match at the Melbourne Cricket Ground between India and Pakistan. There was an absolutely action-packed last over where no ball was called for a full toss or a non-pitching delivery above waist height, which Virat Kohli, pictured here, hit for 6. So the argument was, should it have been called a no ball? Was it above waist height? Was he standing upright at the crease? Ladies and gents, it is a split-second decision that the strikers end umpire needs to make. I think Murray Rasmus was the strikers end umpire in this particular delivery. And here we've got a line just above waist height of Virat Kohli, and the ball is clearly above that line. The question is he standing upright at the popping crease? The answer is no, he is not. So that line could potentially be a little bit higher. The other question is, was the ball dipping? When it's a fast ball from a fast bowler, then the likelihood is that the ball would not have dipped in the 2 or 1.5 meters that it still had to go before it got to the popping crease. So I believe the correct decision was made, and no ball was called. Then the next question is, why was that not reviewed? The reason that is not reviewed is that reviews for this are only if the batter is dismissed. So in this particular delivery, the batter was not dismissed. He hit the ball for 6. So the umpires are not allowed to review whether the ball was over waist height or not. The on-field call stays. Last but not least, on this particular incident, the next ball, according to the playing conditions, was a free hit, and the bowler bowled Virat Kohli. The ball ricocheted from the stumps, and the batters were able to run 3. So the question is, why was that not a dead ball when Virat Kohli was bowled? Well, it's pretty simple. The batter was not dismissed because you cannot be out bowled off a free hit. So the ball was still live, and that is why the batters were able to run. Similar to if a fielder throws the ball trying to run out a batter, the ball hits the stumps, the batter is in his or her crease, and the batters are allowed to run for an overthrow. So that is, for me, a similar reason why the ball does not become dead when a batter is bowled off a free hit. Okay, I hope that explains all of that chaos that took place yesterday on that particular delivery and the free hit that followed. Earlier this morning, South African time, South Africa played against Zimbabwe, and there was 5 penalty runs awarded to Zimbabwe. Why? Let's have a look at the incident, which is well explained by the commentator Sean Pollock. Let me just put on the volume
Somehow
and start it. I'm not sure if I can start it again.
gets that down to fine legs somehow. And Gidi almost runs past it. And get to 70, so it's something to work with.
It's been given 5 penalty runs. I don't know if it wasn't. Okay, we'll have to have a look at that. I think on the throw back from Lungi and Gidi, it might have clattered into Quinton de Kock's glove that he had taken off to try and maybe look to throw it down the other end. I think the glove could have been on the ground. But this is a very rare occasion. Yeah, his glove's off. Makes contact with his knee.
Okay, so what we don't see is the ball actually making contact with the glove. The camera angle was changed just as the ball was about to hit the glove, but the umpires saw it and correctly called and signaled 5 penalty runs. Why was it 5 penalty runs? Was it willful that the ball hit the glove? No, but it was willfully discarded. The glove was willfully discarded by Quinton de Kock, and the law in terms of illegal fielding says a fielder may field the ball with any part of his or her person while the ball is in play, but will be deemed to have fielded the ball illegally if he or she discards a piece of clothing, equipment, or any other object which subsequently makes contact with the ball. So that is exactly what happened in that particular scenario, and that is why Zimbabwe were awarded 5 penalty runs, and also that ball did not count as one legal delivery in the over, and that's why there was an extra ball in that particular over. So I hope that answers any questions related to those 2 incidents. Just going back before we open the floor to questions and answers, or take the questions in the chat box, just to repeat the process for this week. Today is the last lecture of our course. Thank you very much for your attendance and interaction. Later tonight, I shall go through all of the proofs of payments that I've received over the last 3 weeks. There are about 30 of you. I'm going to list those 30 email addresses on the email that I sent out. And I'm also going to say that the deadline to pay for the exam is Friday, the 28th of October, 3 p.m. South African time. And South Africans need to pay 300 rands for the exam fee, and anyone outside of South Africa needs to pay 500 rands using wise.com or $30 using PayPal. Please also note that if you only pay $30 using PayPal, we only receive $28.50. Please, you need to because there's a PayPal fee that's taken off your amount, so you need to pay a little bit extra. So just I think there's a button to select you to absorb the PayPal fee. So I think you would be paying $31.50 if I'm not mistaken for us to receive $30. So tonight, and again on Wednesday night, and again on Friday night, I'm going to update the list of payments received, and I'm going to publish a list of email addresses for which exam fees have been paid. Friday night's list is going to be the final list, and I'm going to use all of the email addresses that I have on Friday night who have been paid for. On Saturday morning, 9 a.m. South African time, I'm going to send the exam email links to all of those email addresses. That will start your 10-day window period where you will have up to 5 attempts to get the pass mark of 80%. Remember, there are 69 questions. You need 59 correct answers. Sorry, 56 correct answers out of 69 questions to get 80% or more. If and when you achieve 80% or more, you will not be granted any more attempts to try and better your mark. We don't bother whether you've got 80% or if you've got 100%. A pass is a pass, and you have no more attempts. If you fail all 5 of your attempts, the website does have an option to pay for more attempts, but from my experience, that does not work and does not grant you more attempts. So what you need to do is you need to contact me, and we will make it half of your exam fee that you need to pay for another 5 attempts, but you will also need to give me a new email address for me to send you a fresh link. Okay, so remember that the system only sends one exam link email per email address. So you will not get a second email link, exam link email to the same email address. You will need to give me another email address. Okay, that's if you need another 5 attempts. If and when you pass the exam, sorry, your certificate will be emailed to training@wpcua.co.za. That is if you have entered Western Province as your association. So please all enter Western Province as your association. Otherwise, your certificate will not be emailed to me. When the exam window period closes on Tuesday, the 8th of November, that night I will email all the passes the logistics to join Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. If you are not in and around Cape Town, then you need to let me know where in South Africa you are based, and I will give you the details of the association closest to you. And don't just say Gauteng, because there are 3 associations in Gauteng. So tell me you are in Midrand, or tell me you are in Pretoria, or tell me you are in Benoni, and I will send you the association closest to you. If you are outside of South Africa and you wish to join an association in your country, let me know which country you are based in and which province you are based in that country, or state in that country. And we do have some contacts in various places around the world where we can put you into contact with people who can hopefully get you into an umpires association close to where you stay. Remember that not all countries recognize Cricket South Africa's level 1 exam as an entry-level exam to start umpiring in that particular country. But I know that countries, most countries in Africa do accept it. I know that the Abu Dhabi Cricket Council has started accepting it. The Dubai Cricket Council is in negotiations to accept it. I know in Ireland they do accept Cricket South Africa's level 1. I know in the Netherlands they do accept Cricket South Africa's level 1 as an entry level. I know in India it's still a bit of a struggle, but we do have contacts there who can help you start umpiring in India. I've explained the process of coming to South Africa as an exchange umpire. If you wish to do that, that option is also available to you. Those will all be explained in the email to all the passes on Tuesday, the 8th of November. Ladies and gents, I've said a lot this evening. I hope that clears up all the admin around the exam. I'm now going to go through the questions on the chat box, and I think a few of them have already been answered through my explanations. Ishmael asks how many names must be on the nomination list of players. A minimum of 11. There is no real maximum. In playing conditions for specific tournaments, they will specify, for example, in Cricket South Africa's Division 2 T20 competition, which I was involved in, each team sheet had a list of 14 players. Abdullah can tell us how many for the Division 1 competition were required on the team sheet for this particular ongoing competition. Dula, you want to give us your input on that one?
Yeah, exactly the same, Tom. You need to list your 11 nominated players plus your 3 substitutes.
Perfect. SP and Datrum asked if they can write inches instead of centimeters. Remember that you don't need to write anything in the exam. You just need to select true or false, or A, B, C, or D in terms of the multiple choice questions. So Anil, that answers your question as well about the imperial or metric systems. Heinrich, what can the umpires do if the captain does not make a decision immediately after the toss? Abdullah, have you ever come across a situation where captain wins the toss and doesn't want to tell us if they are batting or bowling first?
No, Tom, I have not come across a situation, but we get guided by the lawyer, and you can insist, Heinrich, that captain needs to give you an answer immediately, non-negotiable. He needs to say whether bat or bowl. It's a requirement by law that it's done immediately.
Perfect. Thanks, Dula. Pavan, I've already sorted out. He was asking for course material and I've emailed it to him. Next question is from Suresh. Is it mandatory that the new batter should enter a boundary line before the batter who goes out leaves the boundary? Dula, you want to take that one?
Yes, Tom. Suresh, thanks for your question. Suresh, the law guides us here. The only guidance the law gives us here is that the new batter should be ready to receive the ball, or the other batter needs to be ready to receive the ball within 3 minutes of the dismissal or the retirement. That is the only guide that the laws of cricket gives us. I do know that in many competitions across the world, there's something called pace of play, where they don't want the game to drag on for too long. They do want the game to run smoothly. So there's something called pace of play, where they actually want the batters to cross on the inner circle or on the 30-yard circle. So once the batters dismiss, especially in T20 cricket, the new batter needs to get out the dugout. They need to get onto the field and they need to cross on the 30-yard circle. So I know in various competitions they do have this pace of playing conditions in place, and it's a huge part of the fourth umpire's duties. The fourth umpire in televised games sit close to the batting side's dugout, and the fourth umpire needs to make sure that once a batter is dismissed, that the new batter gets onto the field immediately and that they cross on the 30-yard circle or the 27.43 meter circle. But in terms of the laws of cricket, only thing that they do mention is next batter to receive the ball within 3 minutes of the dismissal. There's nothing on it. They should cross on the field, outside the field. There's nothing in the laws of cricket that guides us there. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Tula. The next question is from Venkatesh. It's a very long penalty time scenario. I think we will take it at the end of the lecture. Abdullah, if in the meantime you can maybe read through it and do your calcs on paper so that you can take us through it quickly at the end of the session.
Copy that, Tom.
Thanks, Tula. Next question is from Datrum. If the ball above shoulder height is hit by the batter, is it called one for the over? Datrum, that is a playing condition in most cricket that we see on TV. And the answer for, let's call it the T20 World Cup happening at the moment is definitely yes. Whether the striker hits the ball or not, it shall still be counted as one short pitch delivery over shoulder height. And in T20 playing conditions, you are only allowed one. And if more than one is bowled, then a no ball will be signaled. Another question from Datrum. Will the percentage be displayed on the certificate? You just saw in my demonstration that the percentage achieved in passing the exam is displayed on screen when you have completed or submitted all of your answers, and it is not displayed on your certificate. So Datrum, if you want to have a record of the percentage you have achieved, then you need to take a screenshot once you have completed your exam. Okay, so don't be in a rush to close your screen and click next to see the certificate. Remember that the certificate is emailed to training@wpcua.co.za. It's not automatically emailed to you or displayed to you. what is displayed is the percentage achieved. So you can take a screenshot of that percentage achieved. Just on screenshots, a lot of people ask if the exam can be done on a mobile phone. I am not sure. I haven't tried it on a mobile phone, but from the experience of previous exam takers, is that the mobile phone is slow and it's difficult because the words are small, and I would advise not to use a mobile phone. You can at least use a tablet if you don't have a computer to attempt the exam. Okay. Right. Justin asks, is the 90 minutes for all 5 attempts or 90 minutes for each attempt? It's 90 minutes for each attempt, Justin. So 1.5 minutes per question, plus minus, because there are 69 questions in each attempt. Datram asks, if a fielder is not ready before the bowler delivers the ball, then we signal dead ball. No, it's only if a batter is not ready and the batter moves away and the bowler delivers the ball that we signal dead ball. Not a fielder. We don't really consider whether the fielders are ready or not. Would it also be ideal to give 5 penalty runs as well? No, Datram, you don't give 5 penalty runs if the batter is not ready. You just call and signal dead ball. If it's the fielder who's not ready and there's unfair movement by the fielder, yes, if a fielder tries to run into position because they are late while the bowler is running in and they need to get to a certain position, yes, the new law is that you call and signal dead ball, and the 5 penalty runs will be awarded to the batting side. That is to be considered as unfair movement. How much movement is considered unfair movement? I would suggest if a fielder is running, that is unfair movement. Any amount of running by a fielder while the bowler is running in should be considered unfair movement. Call and signal dead ball and award 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Right. Moving through the rest of the chat box. Yomi asks, can we have a question? That is right. That is ticked wrong. I think we did get a question wrong, so we did see that. Datram asks, okay, I think a few of you were answering the questions that were coming up in the exam. We're not going to go through those. Norbert asks, in your experience, how long does it take for you to decide whether or not a batter is to be given out leg before wicket? Norbert, I did mention this in, and I think Abdullah mentioned it as well on last week, Wednesday, in the Law 37 presentation of leg before wicket. It's a good idea because you've got those 5 things to consider. It's a good idea to take between 2 to 3 seconds to give your decision whether out or not out. If you take or make your decision too quickly, it will give the impression that you have not given the decision enough thought. Even if it is straight in front, plumb, and you think it's hitting all 3 stumps, the trouble or the danger in raising your finger immediately as the ball hits the pad is that you might miss an inside edge. Remember that sound travels slower than light. So what I do is I repeat the delivery in my head, not just the visuals, but also the sound. And quite often I only hear the inside edge when I am repeating the delivery in my head. Okay, that takes me 2 to 3 seconds to repeat the delivery in my head. I'm not counting 1, 2, 3. I'm repeating the delivery in my head, and only then will I give my decision out or not out. So every decision that I make leg before wicket, no matter how easy it looks or appears, I always take between 2 to 3 seconds, and the players appreciate that consistency because why? It shows that you are giving every single appeal due consideration. If you take too long, if you take longer than 3 seconds, then you will give off the impression that you are not sure. And whether you give it out or not out, you will not be selling that decision well because you are taking too long to make the decision. Okay, Abdullah, I don't know if you want to add to that timing of a leg before wicket decision.
Yes, Tom, I would like to add, and I'll use myself as in my experiences. In my earlier years of umpiring, I used to be fairly quick in giving an LBW, and on many occasions, I think Tom mentioned this that what do you say, Tom? Sound travels
slower than light.
Yeah, sound travels slower than light. So on many occasions, I would, because I was so quick on the draw, I would have my hand up, and as my hand's in the air, the sound reaches my ears. But my hand is already in the air, I'm raising my finger, showing the out signal. But it's too late now. I've already given the batter out. So I've learned over the years that rather take a bit of time to delay your out signal. Sometimes you do if batter plays back and it looks plumb in front. You tend to want to lift your finger quickly. Don't take that second or two and then lift your finger. You never know. There might be an edge, and that sound only reaches you afterwards. So I would say I agree with Tom. Try to get consistency in your timing, but when giving an LBW, even if it's plumb back foot middle of middle, still go through your processes and still take your time. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Next question is from AG. What is the maximum number of fielders allowed on the leg side of the striker? You want to take that one, Dula?
Sorry, Tom, what was the question? What is the
maximum? The maximum number of fielders allowed on the leg side when a delivery is bowled?
Yes, Tom. According to the laws of cricket, and which covers more day cricket, there are no maximums allowed except for the number of players behind the popping crease. So according to the laws, we get guided that on the leg side behind the popping crease, the max is 2 players. You're not allowed more than 2 players on the leg side behind the popping crease according to the laws of cricket. That's the only condition when it comes to fielders that the law has in place. So meaning you can have all 11 players on the leg side according to the laws of cricket. So in test match cricket, you can have 11 players on the leg side. The only condition is there must not be more than 2 players on the onside behind the popping crease. So that's according to the laws of cricket. In limited over competitions, 50 overs and T20s, international level, as well as in most provincial as well as club competitions, there is a playing condition in place that do limit the amount of fielders that you can have on the leg side, and that number is 5. So according to a playing condition in 50 and 20 over cricket in most competitions across the world, including the international and provincial, maximum amount of fielders allowed on the leg side is 5. But that's a playing condition in place in white ball cricket across the world. But according to the laws of cricket, no max in terms of how many on the leg side. You can have all 11 fielders on the leg side. The only condition is you're not allowed more than 2 behind on the onside behind the popping crease. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Datrum asks if he will be officiating matches at Newlands Cricket Ground. Very unlikely, Datrum. Newlands Cricket Ground mainly hosts provincial matches, which are officiated by Cricket South Africa's national panel of umpires. There are club cricket finals which take place at Newlands. Those will take place in end of March or beginning of April. I believe you won't be here for those. And also those will be officiated by the best club cricket umpires in those particular leagues for the entire season. So seeing that you will be here only for 3 months maximum, you won't be considered to umpire in those finals. Datrum asks again if he gives a captain out LBW, will that affect his captain's report? Datrum, you do not need to worry about your captain's reports when umpiring. You must give your decisions without fear or favor, and the captains are educated to give their umpires reports fairly, whether you've given them out LBW or not. If he got an inside edge for that LBW that you gave out, then he probably will mark you down. But most captains are fair, and you're welcome to have a discussion with him after the match, even though it's not really encouraged. But we also look at the other captains' report when considering your performance in a match. And we also have what we call assessors, who are former umpires who come and watch your performance. So one captain's decision is not going to tell the whole story about your performance on a particular match. SP asks, he's just thanking us for our time. You're welcome, SP. All the best for the exam. Norbert asks, for a ball that passes above the batter's head, I've seen umpires signal wide or no ball based on the tournament's playing conditions by tapping their heads repeatedly. Is this call followed by a signal for 1 per over? Abdullah, you want to take that one?
Yes, Tom. Thanks, Norbert, for your question. So Norbert, what you're referring to, there is a playing condition in white ball cricket or 50 or 20 over cricket. So for the other attendees, I'm now not referring to the laws of cricket. Norbert is referring to a specific playing condition that is in place for 20 over cricket and 50 over cricket. So in terms of 50 over cricket, you are allowed 2 fast short pitch deliveries per over, and in 20 over cricket you are allowed only 1 fast short pitch delivery per over. So what is the definition of a fast short pitch delivery? The definition is a ball that would have passed above shoulder height of the striker standing upright at the popping crease. but that ball needs to be between shoulder height and head height, because if the ball is a short ball is above head height, according to the playing condition, and batter standing upright at the popping crease, that ball needs to be called wide. So to summarize, and let's use 20 over cricket as an example, where you only allowed one fast short pitch delivery per over, where the ball needs to go between shoulder height and head height. So if it's above head height, you'll call it wide. So that's one per over. Now, if you do bowl a second fast short pitch delivery in the over, and that is whether it's above, as long as it's above shoulder height, if there's a second one in the over, another playing condition now kicks in, and that playing condition tell us if there's a second one above shoulder height in the over, the umpire needs to call and signal no ball. And there is, for that particular delivery, there is a different signal that the umpire is going to use. So how is the umpire going to signal that particular no ball? To show everyone that it's not a front foot no ball, the umpire will signal no ball. So the umpire will, as usual, stretch one of your hands horizontally out, and then use your other hand and tap about 2-3 times on the top of your head. So that is the signal that the bowler has bowled a second short pitch delivery above shoulder height in the over. So it's a no ball, and so you signal as usual, and you'll tap with your other hand on top of your head, and everyone will then know that a second short fast pitch ball was bowled in the over above shoulder height. So that is where that particular signal comes in, Norbert. Did I answer the question, Tom?
100%, Dula. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Next question is from Venkatesh. When explaining about your exchange program, you said you will consider our experience to allocate matches. If I have cleared level 3 with Cricket South Africa and choose to visit WPCUA after a couple of years, will you consider the experience I've gained in Mumbai, India? Yes, Venkatesh, you will just need to let us know what level you've umpired. Wherever in the world you've umpired, let us know the highest level that you've umpired, and we shall allocate you accordingly. Now, Dula, we've reached the end of the questions in the chat box. So I'm going to go back to the long penalty time scenario that Venkatesh has given us. A fielder leaves the field at 11:30 for an internal injury. At 1200 hours, lunch is taken. At 20:40, play resumes after lunch. The fielder comes back onto the field of play at 12:55, and then there's a rain interruption at 1300 hours. By now, the player has served 5 minutes of penalty time and has another 40 minutes remaining to be served. Rain stops at 13:15, and umpires resume play at 13:30. At 13:25, the captain of the batting side declares the innings closed, and so play resumes at 13:35 after the 10-minute interval. Since the player's side is now batting and he was on the field of play when the interruption started, I understand. Okay, so I think that's the scenario, Abdullah. I'm not going to read Venkatesh's different answers. because he's got two different umpires who gave him two different answers. So can you take him through the scenario as to when that fielder can now bat for his team, please?
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for your question, Venkatesh. So when answering penalty time questions, Venkatesh, you work through it step by step. You work out the penalty time that a player owes when there's interruption or when there's an interval. Once that player comes back, leaves the field, step by step. Every time something happens, like an interval or interruption, or player leaves or comes back, work out the penalty time that he or she owes. So this particular player left at 11:30 and lunch was at 12 o'clock. So the first thing I do is, as I'm walking off the field of play, this is now lunchtime, I made a note that player X left the field at 11:30. So at 12 o'clock at lunchtime, I make a note, how much time does player X owe us? So 30 minutes as at lunchtime. Lunch is 40 minutes, so we know lunch ends at 12:40. So because it's a scheduled interval, that 40 minutes will not count for the player, nor will it count against the player. So you cannot add it to the player's penalty time. So at the end of lunch, which is 12:40, how much penalty time does player X owe us? 30 minutes. So as we're walking onto the field, I will look for the captain of the fielding side and I will look for player X, because to inform him or her that he owes us 30 minutes of penalty time and he can bowl again at 12:10, at 13:10. But in this instance, I don't see player X on the field. So then, as from the end of lunch, penalty time will now accrue further. So now the scenario tells us that player X only returns at 12:55. So player restarted at 12:40, only returned at 12:55. So that's another 15 minutes. So now I need to add that 15 minutes to the penalty time that player X already owes us. So at 12:55, when player X
Abdullah, are you still there? It looks like Abdullah has left the chat. I think he's actually got load shedding, which is power cut currently at his particular suburb.
Tom, I'm back. I know I lost you for a second. I'm back online.
Yeah.
So I'll take just one step back. I'm not sure where you lost me, but I think I know where I lost. I could hear some things telling me I've lost connectivity. So as at lunchtime, when lunch ended, player X owed us 30 minutes. But player X did not return with his or her side after lunch. He only returned at 12:55. So now you need to add that 15 minutes to the penalty time that player X already owes us. So at 12:55, when player X returned to the field, he owes us 45 minutes, 30 plus now the 15. Then they say 5 minutes later at 1 o'clock, it starts raining and the fielders leave the field of play. Now again, there's an interruption now. So now you need to work out, as at the rain interruption, how much penalty time player X owes us. So when he returned at 12:55, he owed us 45 minutes. It rained at 1 o'clock, 5 minutes later, so he was on the field for 5 minutes. So you can offset that 5 minutes against the penalty time that he owes us when he returns. So 45 minus 5 is 40 minutes he owes us as at the rain interruption. So importantly, because player X was on the field at the rain interruption, you can now offset that whole rain interruption against the penalty time that player X owes us. There's one condition: player X needs to take the field with the side after the rain interruption. So 1300, he owes us 40 minutes. Now the scenario tells us play can restart at 13:30 according to the umpires. So now I've just said that because the player was on the field at the start of the interruption, he can offset the whole unscheduled break against penalty time that he owes, providing he takes the field. So now play restart at 13:30. You could offset that whole 30 minutes. So you would say 40 minutes that he owes us at the start of the interruption minus the 30 would give you 10 minutes penalty time he owes us if play was to start at 13:30. But play did not start at 13:30. According to the scenario, batting captain during the interruption came to you and say, I am declaring, and that was at 13:25. So now the moment this declaration take place, then the change of innings interval kicks in. Now change of innings interval is seen as a scheduled break according to the laws of cricket. So now we officially at 13:25 into a scheduled break of 10 minutes. And as per the laws of cricket, this is a scheduled break, and scheduled breaks cannot count for, nor can it count against the player. Also in this 10-minute change of innings interval, which is a scheduled break, you will also allow the rolling for the new for the other side that's now going to bat. So that's why it's important that at 13:25, this change of innings interval, which is a scheduled interval, kicks in because there's other things that kicks in as well. If this was an unscheduled break, the rolling law would not have able to kick in. That's why you need to take this 10 minutes from 13:25 till 13:35 as a scheduled break. So meaning player X, because from 13:25 and player restarts at 13:35, that 10 minutes is a scheduled interval, cannot count for, nor can it count against the player. So you cannot offset that 10 minutes. You can only offset the 25 minutes, which was from 1 o'clock until 13:25. You can only offset that 25 minutes against penalty time that the player owes us. So at the start of the rain interruption was 40 minutes he owed us, minus 25. So at 13:35, player X still owes us 15 minutes. So player X can only bat at 13:50 or if 5 wickets is down. So the crux here and the question that I forgot the name, Tom.
Venkatesh.
The question that Venkatesh asked and where the discrepancy came in is whether that 10 minutes from 13:25 to 13:35, what is that? Is that gets seen as per the law as a scheduled interval, and as per the law, you cannot. That time won't count for the player, nor will it count against the player. So you need to take that 10 minutes into account. Hence, you can only offset 25 minutes against the penalty time that he owes. So that was the discrepancy, Tom. So my answer is only the 25 minutes you can offset, because from 13:25 till 13:35 is a scheduled break. Over, Tom.
Perfectly explained, Abdullah. I hope that answers your question, Venkatesh.
Thanks a lot, sir. Explained so much in detail. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Much appreciated. Very well explained. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. That concludes all our questions in the chat box. I see we have one hand still up. Sandeep, is this a new hand to ask a question? I see you've unmuted your microphone. The floor is yours. Please go ahead.
All right, I'll keep it very short. I know it's late in the South Africa though. Just going back to the explanation what we had about the yesterday's no ball incidents, where the umpire gave it no ball for the above west height non-pitching delivery. The wondering why the third umpire has called it rather than on-field umpire. That's a question which I couldn't get an answer for.
Sandeep, I believe the call was made by the on-field strikers and umpire, Marie Rasmus.
No, he doesn't. I mean, when I saw the replay, he was looking at the ball which went outside the boundary. So he didn't call it at immediately at the shot or after the shot was been played or ball was been bowled. So this was a delayed call as no ball, and wondering why there was a delay. And I, in my opinion, I think the third umpire was got involved into it, and he called. And I think the Richard Kettleborough was the third umpire yesterday. So he communicated that to Rod, and then he gave that as a no ball. Neither the square leg umpire. That's what I could recollect what I've seen, and many clips those are floating around on the social media.
Okay, so I didn't watch the match because I was busy with a match myself. So I can't tell you what I've seen.
Okay.
Tom,
Abdullah,
Tom,
go ahead.
I can tell you what I've seen because I watched the match live. I was supposed to be busy with a Division 1 T20 game, but there was a rain, lightning in Potchefstroom, and the match didn't take place. But it gave us a great opportunity to watch the game live. So so yeah, I saw the incident live. So what happened? Who asked the question, Tom?
Sandeep.
Sandeep, yeah, Sandeep. Sandeep, so when it comes to a televised match and DRS protocols, and the protocol is when a no ball, high full toss above wayside gets bowled and it gets hit in the air. The protocol is for on-field to delay the call of no ball. Why delay the call of no ball? To first check whether the catch can be taken. Because if the catch can be taken, you can always then go upstairs to have the TV umpire check the waist height full toss. So that is protocol that's in place in a televised game. They always tell you waist height full toss. If it goes in the air, delay your call. If it doesn't go in the air, if it, let's say it gets bowled above waist height and it goes straight into the ground, no need to delay. You call and signal immediately. But if it goes in the air, you need to delay your call to first check whether the catch is taken. Why do you need to check? Because upon dismissal, the playing conditions allow for you to go upstairs to ask TV to check whether the ball was above waist height. So in this scenario, the ball was hit in the air towards the boundary. So you could clearly see Mare looking towards the catch. So his first instinct was to check whether the catch was or going to be taken. If yes, I guarantee you they would have gone upstairs to ask TV to look. But then he saw a boundary 6 was scored. Now, when he saw the boundary 6, now he called and signaled. But now I know the perception out there looks like, because Kohli immediately signaled no ball, so the perception out there is that Kohli influenced Mare in calling, but he did not. Mare followed the correct protocol as per the ICC by delaying the call, waiting for the catch to be taken. The moment he saw boundary 6 was called, he then immediately called and signaled no ball. And that is what he explained to Baba at the time. And Baba was happy with that explanation, because that is a protocol that's always been in place. Even at our level, they do tell you, wait for the call. So Mare followed the correct protocol in delaying and waiting. Did I answer your question, Sandeep?
Absolutely, you did. And I had no question or no doubt that the Murray would not have made the right call, but this protocol was been missing in my knowledge. So that I asked this question. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
You're welcome, Sandeep. Over to you, Tom.
Excellent explanation, Abdullah. Thank you very much for that. And an enlightenment for, I'm sure, not just Sandeep, but most of us here this evening. Ladies and gents, we've come to the end of our course. I see no more questions in the chat box or hands in the air. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your participation and your interaction over the last 3.5 weeks. We have enjoyed presenting to you, and I hope you have enjoyed and learned from all of our lectures. All that is left now is for me to wish you well for your level 1 exam. I've given you the logistics and will also send them out on email. And I also wish you well in your umpiring careers, whether they have started or they are yet to get underway. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you all soon on television, in the MCG, making the big calls like Murray Rasmus did yesterday. Thank you and
thank you
night,
very much.
ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, everyone. Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.